welcome everybody to the Georgia Technology Summit, and this breakout session is specific to digital acceleration and the new customer experience. I've got four esteemed panelists that I'm excited to talk to today. I have Glenn Weinstein, I've got Marc Corbett, I've got Jillian Henleben, and Raymond Claris. And I'll let them introduce themselves so I don't flub that up. I'm really excited to talk to these guys today. And we'll just start with the introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's start with Glenn.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Glenn Weinstein. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Twilio. Twilio is a global digital communications provider. I live right here in Atlanta, actually in East Cobb, and I've had my entire career in software and technology. And I'm very pleased to be here with GTS this morning.
Thanks, and let's go to Marc.
Hey, my name's Marc Corbett. I work here in Atlanta, Georgia as well, in Midtown at the Backbase North American headquarters. Backbase, for those who don't know, global engagement banking platform here in Atlanta. We're based out of Amsterdam, but our North American headquarters are here. And of the last 10 years that I've been in financial technology, 5 have been spent with Backbase focusing on user experience, customer engagement, journey mapping, and basically working with our partners to meet their digital transformation needs. I'm very excited to be on this panel today and get to talk to everybody about these topics. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Marc. And let's go to Raymond.
Hey guys, my name is Raymond Claris. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for FLEETCOR Technologies here in Atlanta. Originally from Amsterdam, so Marc will probably need to catch up. I know Jouk, by the way, your CEO. Awesome. So at FLEETCOR Technologies, I'm in charge of marketing, sales operations, and e-commerce.
Thanks, Raymond. And I normally do ladies first, but Jillian, we saved the best for last. You're going to anchor these guys today. So Jillian, introduce yourself, please.
Absolutely. Hey guys, Jillian Henleben. Coming in from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also over in the East Cobb neighborhood, for those familiar, and I lead product for Carrot from Fiserv. We're focused on delivering omni-channel and e-commerce solutions for our merchants that transform the customer experience, help accelerate revenue growth, and optimize commerce in a variety of ways. So very excited to be here with you guys.
Thanks. So thanks, guys. So hey, let's flip this back around. I'm going to start with Jillian, and we're going to go back the other way. And what I want to ask is, I guess I want to ask before we jump into this, I kind of want to ask what digital acceleration means to you. So I know that term digital is thrown around left and right. So what does digital acceleration mean to you and your organization? So let's start with Jillian.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I stated, Carrot here at Fiserv, we've been focused on delivering e-com, omni-channel, digital, right? Insert your favorite buzzword here, solutions for our merchants. But I think when you get to the heart of it and what that means, it's not just enabling our merchant clients to meet market expectations, right? But how we can enable them to lead in their respective industries, exceed customer expectations, and again, find tactics and strategies we can help them to deploy that drive more commerce, right? Not just focus on the commerce opportunities that are there in front of them today. This viewpoint and this strategy, this mission we have in market, proved itself to be very beneficial about 18 months ago, right? When a global pandemic hit us all, forced each of us, right, to stay home and find new ways to make day-to-day purchases. Up until that point, we had been working on deploying our online EBT product, right? And what we were doing there was enabling food stamp recipients to make online grocery purchases. Didn't seem like a must-happen now solution pre-COVID, but once COVID hit, enabling our grocery clients to be able to help their most impacted segment of consumers to shop safely and securely online, we were standing by, right, waiting to help deploy that. So I think it's thinking ahead and having solutions, again, that are kind of ahead of the game and enabling our clients to exceed wherever their industries might be when it comes to digital transformation.
Thanks, Jillian. What you said also a couple of times that kind of stood out to me is not just meeting the customer expectations, but exceeding them, and that I really like. I really like that approach. Raymond, so can you tell us what digital acceleration and the new customer experience means to you, and specifically your organization?
Yeah, I'm focused on the organization internally. So as a chief marketing officer, obviously we want to make a customer experience ideal, especially in the last year that has changed quite a bit. I'd summarize it as creating connectivity. And the two elements that I see that best is with people and with data. So if you look at how do we create connectivity with people, it's on the level of customers and also with our employees, right? So starting with employees, I think in the past 12 months, we couldn't have survived without the Zoom meetings, the better technologies that we have to communicate while we're working remote. So that's been a big move for FLEETCOR, is to make sure that people can work from anywhere. The other part is obviously our customers around the globe, but for me specifically in the US, have changed their shopping behavior, have changed their buying behavior, dramatically moved into the digital channels, but still want to keep that human touch. So we've seen a tremendous increase in chat, in video conferencing with our customers and all that. So we make sure that our sales reps are enabled with the latest technologies as well. And then if I were to move to the data component of it, I think digital transformation for me means connecting the different data sources to create new services for our customers, but also to create new insights for ourselves to provide better products. So allowing data warehouses to combine different sources like Salesforce data, like web behavior data, like transaction data, makes us smarter as a company, allows us to create better products for our customers, but also allows us to increase speed to deliver services faster, because we know faster how to react to customer requests. So that, in a summary, would be what we are doing with transformation there.
Thanks so much. I mean, I really like how you focused on the data and people and data. And so often we have to realize that all data is not necessarily good data. We want the data, but we want to be able to make sure we get that useful data that's going to help us. So I appreciate that focus. My other Amsterdam guy, let's go to Marc.
Thanks. Raymond, that's interesting that you're talking about data, because one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is when information and data is so ubiquitous, it's not necessarily about accessing anymore. It's about how do you integrate that into your systems? How do you get that to that UI layer for your users? For me, when we talk about digital, I'm thinking the reality is now digital. Our physical world is kind of, unfortunately, dissipating away behind us. And a lot of our interactions, Jillian was talking about e-commerce, is going to be on a digital platform, whether we like it or not. The pandemic kind of sped that up. And if you look at consumer user data, 8 hours we were spending as adults screen time before the pandemic, just shy of 14 now. So that's unhealthy. Hopefully we're trending downwards. We don't want to be basically in that situation for too long, but the result of that is that we're going to build habits that we have trouble getting past. We have trouble kind of ditching these habits, whether that has to do with commerce or shopping habits. For some of our customers, their users in branch, we're spending a series of time, about an hour a month, with a banker. Those users have now gone from 40% digital only channels to 80% digital only channels. And in that process, doubled, if not tripled, their amount of time that they're dwelling within the application versus the foot traffic that we saw when they were in branch. So how do you activate those users? How do you secure an ROI from those users? Because now you're having to think about things differently. And that comes into retention as well. What's your retention model? Because if we lose these users to the emerging technologies in that digital landscape, it's going to be even more expensive to acquire them again than it was to keep them in the first place. So adaptability is super crucial, I think, as well.
Thanks, Marc. And what you touched on makes me think about how, when we're talking about data, how what we used to call ETL extract, transform, and load, that model has changed to the ELT. Now you want to extract, load, and then transform that data that you need. So let's go to Glenn. Glenn, so tell us and share with us about that digital acceleration and what it means to you and your organization.
I'll try to tie together some of the things we just heard from Jillian, Raymond, and Marc. I come from a very particular viewpoint on what digital transformation or what the term really means. And it's sort of a more literal interpretation. Raymond, you talked about creating connectivity. I think of digital in terms of literally connecting to customers through communication. So digital communications is kind of the last mile of digitization of transactions. I think as technology professionals, we've spent a lot of time on our data, on our CRMs, on making our employees more productive and so forth. But that last mile of actually physically communicating with a customer, whether it's over the phone, over a text message, over email, over chat, however they want to communicate, is surprisingly light in a lot of organizations. It's sort of like the last mile is usually just sort of up to the individual agent or individual sales rep. So that probably is, if I were to zero in a focus of what the analog to digital transformation means to me, it's connecting that last mile through digital. It's so relevant, I think, Marc, to what you just said, that if your previous customer base was 40% digital, now it's 80%, you can't leave that last mile of communications connectivity to chance.
That was perfect, actually, how you tied that all together. This is wonderful already. I want to jump to our next question. Now that we all know what digital acceleration means to each of you guys in the organizations, this is good stuff. But so I want to ask this question. So in enhancing the customer experience, what would you say has been the biggest differentiator for your digital acceleration initiative? And let's start with Jillian.
Yeah. So a lot of the same themes I think that we're all going to touch on, right? But I think in our space specifically, right, and we're thinking about the commerce journey and we're thinking about how can we eliminate friction? How can we meet our customers where they are? A big differentiator that we've had in the market and in being able to, step in and help our clients accelerate over the last 18 months has been this connected ecosystem that we have, right? I think all of us likely interact with a lot of the same customers, at least in some way, form, or fashion. And we, there's not a one size fits all solution for merchant clients, right? So I think one massive differentiator that we've had is the connected ecosystem that we bring to market through Carrot, right? A critical component being our third-party partners, right? It could be a communications platform, it could be point of sale providers, could be loyalty partners, delivery service, right? Talk about critical partners in today's ecosystem, right? In combination with our own first-party solutions that we've been developing for years to create a seamless, simple to deploy solution, and being able to do that at breakneck speed, which is important these days. So I think that's been one. Another that I'll just touch on because I think we've all called it out has been data, right? At Fiserv, we're very proud of the breadth that we have in the ecosystem, whether it's on the merchant side, where I'm coming from, or more on the issuer side. We have a lot of data. To everyone's point on this call, though, making that data actionable and insightful for our clients has been a massive benefit to them over the last 18 months. And then I think a last one has been, we understand the benefit of partnership in the ecosystem, right? And emerging players. So we've made some strategic acquisitions in the last year. One that's coming to mind for me is Radius 8, which we announced just a couple months ago. And so as you think about that commerce journey, right, and Glenn was talking about thinking about the last leg, right, and making sure that communication is kind of thought about. Radius 8 kind of starts at the front end, right, before a payment even happens. How can we present really relevant content and engagement models for customers so that ultimately the merchant can convert that consumer interaction into a sale and grow revenue, right? So I think those have been kind of three major points of differentiation for us that we've been really leaning into over the last 18 months.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And also what stood out there also is the importance of having good partners. Whether those are those third-party guys that you get with, whether it's whoever you get in the bed, you got to make sure it's a good partner in order for your business to continue to thrive. So let's jump to, well, anybody can jump in. Anybody want to weigh in on that question? What's been a big differentiator for you with your digital acceleration initiative? Anybody?
Well, Jillian, I like what you said about meeting the customers where they are, and Fiserv sounds really forward-looking in terms of bringing new technology to the market. I think that is the key differentiator, is meeting customers where they are, being truly omni-channel in terms of not for, if a customer wants to email you, let them email you. If they want to chat with you, let them chat. One of the biggest areas that Twilio is kind of known for, my software company, is text messaging. So text messaging is really, you think about it, it's incredible. It's an incredible channel where people read text messages. When you get a text message, you tend to read it. It's got much higher attention demand than other channels. And the crazy thing is that most companies that send you text messages don't let you reply. Now, think about, or you sometimes get an email from a company that says, it's literally from do not reply at mycompany.com. What world are we living in when we're telling customers, where we work so hard as marketers to engage with customers, and when we finally have their attention, we tell them don't reply? So it's pretty low-hanging fruit, but a great differentiator is let them reply and engage with them however they want to engage with you. Open up your reply channels.
Love it. As I throw this to Marc and or Raymond, you guys can answer this question about the biggest differentiator, or where Glenn just kind of took me is making me think, what do customers want? What have you seen that your customers want, especially as this pandemic has introduced some new challenges? What have you guys seen that your customers want these days? And that's let's start with Marc.
Yeah, this is such a tough question. Isn't everybody asking themselves that all the time? I wish I had a magic answer. Certainly what our customers want, we think what our customers want is a parity to the non-digital experiences prior to them getting into these digital transformations. We think, oh, our customers used to go into a store and they used to buy things. They want that experience online. But the reality is, when we approach our customers and their users, is stop thinking like that. Get rid of this idea that parity is everything, and start thinking about de-siloing of productization. How can I enter a user into a channel and leverage the experience with that user to apply, like we're talking about, data, analytics, marketing, market segmentation, so that that user has options, flexibility, and they feel like it is a discussion, very much to the discussion around, not responding to SMS texts, or, feeling like it's just we're being shouted at. It should really be more open-ended. So when I think about what we're doing today from a consumer banking standpoint, one of the journeys that we've been kind of going down is, okay, I just had a child. That information is in my personal finance management. That information is in my banking. So if I'm onboarding as a retail user, why aren't you also talking to me about a wealth management account for that child for their college tuition in the distant future that I'm probably not thinking about right now because I have hospital bills? These dialogues build trust. That trust opens up opportunities for, more commercialization with the person, and also, hopefully a better ROI in the long run on that investment that you put into your banking application.
Thanks, Marc. I like that. That is $1 million question, right? If we all knew what our customers wanted, we'd all be rich, right? But Raymond, I'd like you to weigh in on that. Either the differentiator for you, and or what you're seeing that your customers want, and is that hard? Does that needle move? Is it hard to stay on top of? So yeah, please weigh in.
Yeah, all great points. I subscribe to a lot of what Marc said. I think one of the key differentiators, and also one of the things that customers really want, is speed. You talk about living in the moment and being distracted in this world is worse than ever for anybody. So making speed possible for customers is really something that we focus on a lot. And that translates a lot, not just into technology, but also user experience. So how do you build your new shopping windows, whether they're virtual or actually in real life, in such a way that people with limited time can do what they want to be doing, and make it easy for them to buy the products that we're trying to sell to them. So one of the big challenges that we've had is, how do you create those new user experiences for them, and how do you find the right people to create that experience? Because a lot of people live on their phone. It's a small device. It's different than when I grew up on desktop in the beginning. So making that transition to make it fast, make it logical. That's really the game changer between making a little bit of sales and making a lot of sales happen in the digital world. So we focus a lot on getting the right people in house to fix that, and we're at the beginning of the journey. I don't think we're even halfway there. It's also changing all the time, right? So what you liked 5 years ago is not what you like today. So you got to keep on the cutting edge there, stay on the cutting edge, and also learn from a lot of the experiences that people have on your website today to make improvements, to make small tweaks, to test things out. All back to the speed thing. I only have 5 minutes. I want to do business with you, but if you make it difficult for me, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Hey, can I make an observation on that, Raymond?
Absolutely, please do.
I'm thinking about the fact that you're a chief marketing officer, and it seems to me that we talk a lot about categorizing our customers into personas and trying to understand what our customers want, but then we turn around and we mostly use that for marketing purposes. Our advertising is highly targeted, but our customer experiences are not as targeted. Amazon is one company that's particularly good at that, but for the most part, we kind of give the same experience to everybody. And it strikes me that we should be trying to use these customer personas that we're all building with all this data as much to improve and to tailor our customer experience as we are, to our advertising, which is always where it seems to go.
I've got to talk to that, if that's okay.
Please talk to that.
So we've been focusing lately on a design system at Backbase. We've been building it for ages, but it's really robust. The thing that we've really realized is a differentiator in the market as well on that note is decoupling your UI layer from your underlying capabilities and systems so that you have that resilience and that flexibility with your user personas or lack thereof. We have a bank that's fairly small entering the market into a digital realm, and they decided that they wanted to spin off a specific experience for millennials and a specific experience for baby boomers because they're so different. They have totally different experiences when it comes to wealth management and how they want to conduct their day-to-days. But with the same capabilities in the underlying platform, because we've decoupled that UI layer, we can trigger that experience based on the segmentation of the market and then give them something when they move into the banking application. That's, I think, the next step for a lot of us is completely customized experiential engagements, whether it's retail, commerce, banking, etc., and less apps. I don't want to download 5 apps at the end of the day. I want one that does most of the things,
Man,
I love that. Go ahead, Glenn.
So much great stuff there, Marc. I'll try to be brief, but Marc, I want to go back to you said something about customers initially think they want parity to the non-digital world, and you're just making me think about what they really want is parity with that tailored experience. Think back, well, we can't think back, but 100 years ago, our great grandparents were used to shopping in stores where the shopkeeper knew them by name, had been serving them for 20 years. They know they greet you. They grab the items off the shelves that they know that you want. Maybe 1 or 2 special items. You have very personalized service, and I don't know that customers articulate it that way today, but I do believe fundamentally that when they come through your digital door, they want that same sort of, well, at least they know me here. The experience is getting better the more times I use it.
So what I'm hearing and what's exciting me is I'm hearing about the parity, I'm hearing about tailoring those experiences, but I'm also hearing about that speed. And I think that all makes sense. It explains why the microwave took off. I mean, anybody that has children understands that need for instant gratification. I mean, I certainly understand it, but I do. I mean, if I just had a ball, I could just put this all together. That would just be the perfect product, right? With parity, tailored or customized for me, and speed. But yeah, anybody can jump in here because this has been great for me. But my next question was, we talked about the biggest differentiator. Now I kind of want to understand what that biggest hurdle is, whether it's technology, whether it's whether it's upstairs, whether it's the board, what is it? And I'll start. Let's pull in Raymond, and we'll start with that question. Your biggest hurdle in your digital acceleration initiative.
Yeah, I would say it has nothing to do with digital. It has to do everything with people. So finding talent that can help us move forward, and enough of them really is what the real challenge is. There's a real scarcity in how many people are specialized in this. And for a company like FLEETCOR Technologies, we're a fintech company. We're in Atlanta. There's a lot of competition for those types of people, whether you work in the technology side of things, on the UX side of things. It's very hard to build teams with predominantly innovative younger people that want to stick around for a number of years to bring us to that vision. So it almost makes us as a company rethink ourselves on how can we be more attractive to that group of people, so that we can build our next version of the company. So yeah, we're very focused on onboarding those people, creating better working environments for those people, the whole balance between work from anywhere, work in the office, how do you have people collaborate with each other, how do you not limit yourself to Atlanta, but actually go global or at least national to get the right talent in-house. That's for me the biggest challenge, is really to get the right people to do the job and to make it a fun job for them. That's where I've been focusing a lot of my time.
Well, that sounds great. Well, now, when you first said people, Raymond, I got to tell you, I was thinking, oh, you were talking about how difficult people are to work with, but you were actually talking about the talent and finding people. Let me ask you that same question, Jillian. What's been your biggest hurdle or challenge in this digital acceleration initiative?
Yeah, I think we can all probably relate to Raymond's call out, right, around finding not only talent, right, and retaining talent, but the right talent. And folks who can, as our clients are looking to transform, right, we also have to transform our thinking around our respective businesses, right? So I do think talent is a big one. I also think back to Glenn earlier mentioned, try to put yourself in 100 years ago and how you conducted business, right? You'd walk into a shop, et cetera. In our space, you think about merchants who are looking to transform the consumer experience, but they have legacy systems that have been around for decades. And so helping them to get off that legacy infrastructure and into a more nimble, more agile setup where they can rapidly deploy, one, and two, tailor that experience, as we've all been talking about, right? Be predictive, be prescriptive. That is much easier said than done, especially when you're talking about, folks who have been around for a while. I think emerging players have this much easier. Especially when you're talking about business to consumer experiences. But serving fellow businesses who have been, around for a while, that's been a big hurdle. So that's also been a big focus for us, but I'd love to hear what other folks are kind of dealing with as we're talking about digital transformation.
Absolutely. Let's jump to Marc. And before we jump to Marc, I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to steal your be predictive and prescriptive. So that's, I'll give you the credit, but I might use that soon. Marc, your biggest hurdle or challenge?
Yeah. Jillian's preaching to the choir over here. This is, if you're getting into financial technology, if you're getting into banking, and Jillian, I know that's part of your DNA as well. You're looking at core legacy systems. You're looking at a lot of legacy architecture that's holding back these people from trying to get to that digital transformation that they had in mind. We've created a very open API, open architecture around this to free up that layer of concerns. We've also tried to break down our capabilities separate from those core systems. That way you can bring in integrations into someone like Twilio when you want to do SMS OTP during a journey when you're authenticating a user, or if you're identifying them and storing them in your system. You want to go from on-prem to cloud, you want to move through those processes. You have to create a solution for your customers that gives them options. And this is really important too, back to what we're hearing about kind of specialization, you can't do everything. Your organization isn't going to be the best at everything out there. So being able to integrate into the best in breed fintechs and giving your customers those options, I think is critical. Otherwise, they're going to turn around to someone who's going to give that to them instead.
Got it. Got it. Glenn.
I'll offer a prediction. I think Jillian you're right. Core systems, legacy systems are a big hurdle. And I think I agree wholeheartedly with Marc, APIs are the future. I think the prediction is I think we're going to rely less on systems in the future and more on specific capabilities. It's so much easier today than it was even a decade ago to build your own apps and string together the software supply chain and put in bits and pieces that you need. Beginning of my career, we went from through a transformation from buying products on a perpetual on-premise basis to buying software as a service and thinking in terms of monthly license costs. I think we're going through a similar transition now from monthly seats to pay as you go. You make 1,000 API calls, you pay 28 cents. And that's how primarily we're going to consume technology services in the enterprise in the future, because we've got to get more nimble. The only way to digitally transform is to start building this stuff. Relying on core systems is not going to cut it.
That's a good point. Even Salesforce has that model. Go ahead, Jillian.
I was just going to say, I would expand on that, right? And say, again, you've got to make it easy and flexible, right? And I think we've all kind of hit on this, right? But understanding that this is an ecosystem and none of us are going to be the best at everything, right? And our clients are always going to rely on a variety of partners to have a best-in-class solution based off of their brand expectations, right? So having an ecosystem that's easy to plug into, easy to deploy, right? Move around, change, API-based, absolutely, I think is critical. And I think it's great to hear that, all of these players on this call today are all really honing in on that and focusing on it.
True. And it's almost scary sometimes when you think about some of these organizations that still have these legacy systems and people that are still using mainframes, but are successful and kind of resistant to change. So that's kind of always been interesting to me. My next question I have for you guys is, and I try not to talk too much about COVID and Corona. Everybody's been talking about this for the last, ad nauseum for the last year and change. But I do want to know in what specific ways is this pandemic? Because again, it could be a pandemic. It could be a fundamental change in the industry in terms of how business is done. It could be a change in leadership at your organization. But how has this pandemic specifically accentuated the need for digital acceleration? Let's go right back to you, Jillian, and start there.
Yeah, I think to your point, it was the pandemic over the last 18 months, over the next 18 months, it could be something else. The need for digital acceleration, I think, if anything, digital for many of us means flexibility, it means speed, it means being able to pivot to meet our end customers' expectations, right? So digital, I think, is here to stay. And I think having an agile mindset going forward is what I think everyone here on this call is going to talk about, and what our clients are all thinking about, right? Is we need to meet our customers where they are today and where they might want to meet us tomorrow, right? So flexibility, agility have all been highlighted as critical over the last 18 months. I think will just continue to be tested in those categories going forward.
Great. Marc, your thoughts on that? This pandemic was introduced, how it's accentuated this need for digital acceleration. That didn't need to be accentuated to anybody on this call, I believe, but what have you been able to use and leverage and take up to the board and say, hey, can you see, I've been telling you guys this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely when we're interfacing back in that marketplace, we're seeing that the digital leaders pulled ahead of the pack. If they already had the scaffolding, if they had already done some of the legwork, they were primed for the picking. And when it came to the pandemic hitting hard, if you didn't have a solid onboarding journey origination engine in your system, you were SOL initially. You were, scrambling to figure out how are we going to onboard users without branches, without physical locations to do that. And then more importantly, how are we going to scale our underlying systems? Do we have microservices at play? Can our load handle this? There was a lot of things that just popped up immediately on everybody's to-do list. And that wasn't there as much as it was during the pandemic. As we've moved forward with our customers, we've hopefully helped them compete in these markets with solutions that we can provide. But I turn around and I see some of these disruptors, and they did a lot more disrupting during the pandemic. Let's just say that.
Right. So Raymond, your thoughts on this pandemic and how it's accentuated this need for this digital acceleration that we're all evangelizing?
Yeah, we've seen a dramatic switch or change in our channel mix, let's say. So more customers obviously have moved to shopping online and buying our products online, moving away from some of the more traditional channels like phone and field. So, and I would say internally, along with our customers being more trained that they can do stuff online, a broader group has just been trained to do things digitally. Same goes for our employees, right? So we've learned how to work together through Zoom. If you were to ask the people that work for Zoom, they probably have seen a humongous transformation in the last 12 months, right? And we've all been trained to do things in a different way. And I would say some very positive reviews on what you can do and how you can increase your productivity by switching from one meeting to the next within a minute versus walking 10 minutes to a different part of the building, not having your commute, versus some of the negatives as well. There's no water cooler conversation necessarily. So how do you facilitate that, and how do you do team building? But I would say, in general, both customers and employees have changed their behavior, I think, permanently to a large extent. They've learned how they can do things differently. And I think we need to, as a company, we need to reap the benefits from that. And at the same time, where there were any negatives, make sure that we fix those, whether it's going back to what we call normal. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the normal before the pandemic. I think, it had some good learnings, and it also had some things that we probably want to improve.
Absolutely. And Glenn?
Our customer surveys have shown that the digital gains that customers have made, they intend to keep. So the future world will be hybrid. Even analog, quote unquote, analog transactions like going to the doctor's office, we now expect that the appointment reminder will come over SMS, and that we'll be able to make changes to that appointment on the website, even if it's a small, local medical provider. All that digital kind of transaction components are going to stick. So the future of the world is massively omni-channel, and you better be listening for those replies.
That's true. That's true. My last question, or as we prepare to wrap up, is I guess want to ask each of you guys, what excites you about the future? If you can just quickly tell me what excites you about the future on this digital acceleration, because as I like to say, resistance is futile. So let's start with Jillian. What are you excited about?
Selfishly, I think I am most excited about digital acceleration across our clients as a customer, right? To Glenn's point, right? I am a customer who I would love it if I could reply to a text message, to change an order, or to inquire about an order status, or to move an appointment, or to check inventory, right? So I think selfishly, we all serve our clients, but we're all customers in some way. And so seeing how the transformation that we're each leading within our respective companies is going to further enhance our own day-to-day lives, I'm excited about that. We've got a lot of really awesome new solutions coming to market, and I'm just excited to experience it in the wild.
Good deal. Marc, what's got you excited?
Yeah, absolutely, Jillian. I think that as a guy who focuses a lot on user testing, user experience, and how that works into these systems, I'm very excited about the user, for the user, and finally solutioning to them directly versus kind of taking that inside out approach, that top down approach, thinking about them first. This isn't a trend anymore. This is very much the world we live in. So efficiencies that everyone's been talking about, being able to kind of conduct specific activities condensed in a smaller time format, getting some of that time back. That's the pivotal thing that hopefully we're going to deliver to our customers, as well as show and build that trust and relationships because of that superior user experience. So I'm very excited about that.
Great. So Raymond, what's got you smiling as you look towards the future?
Yeah, I'll mention very specific things that just got me very excited in the last few months. So with everything going digital as a CMO, you're looking at media and advertising, and we got really excited about the opportunity to advertise for two businesses on TV. So TV advertising has gone digital, meaning it's becoming more and more targetable. And you can actually find business owners through TV advertising without creating the waste. So versus a few years ago where there was no way you could go for a sub audience like SMB owners through TV advertising, that's all changing now. So the opportunity for marketers like me is just expanding tremendously, but with the opportunities we have beyond just the regular things that we've been doing, like email marketing and then paid search. So it's very exciting for me to see that all these consumer advertising tools now becoming available to B2B environments as well. So that got me excited in the last few months.
Absolutely. And Glenn, how about you?
I think the barrier to entry has been significantly lowered. So anybody can start stringing together the software supply chain now. It's much easier than it's ever been. I'm also excited to do what Marc, you hinted at a little earlier, which is the conversation is the app. I don't need the app. Can we just do the whole transaction over a text message? That I think is actually the future. Less reliance on individual apps. The conversation is the app.
Got it. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys have been a wonderful panel. Definitely a lot of intellectual capital here that I'm excited about, and some things I stole, Jillian, predictive and prescriptive. And I just like to say to the rest of our guests out there, enjoy the rest of the Georgia Technology Summit, and see you guys back on the main stage. Thanks, guys. You guys have been wonderful.